When is the best time to sell a home in Venice, Florida?
We're gonna give you all the details that you need to know, and we're getting started right now.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the area, make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
That phone number is 941-221-1897. You can call or text at any time. We hear from people every day. We love it, and we always have your best interest and happiness in mind when buying or selling a home in the area. So we're gonna talk about the best months and times a year. We're also gonna talk about more macro, kind of like with the overall market trends in general, when the best time is to sell. And then we're also gonna give you more like specific situations for different people. Maybe you have a second home or whatever the case may be, and give you some context for that.
So first things first, when is the best month to sell in Venice, Florida and surrounding areas? So the best time of year to sell in Venice and surrounding areas, I would say, is beginning of November and then going all the way to maybe the first few weeks in May. The winter months are when most of the real estate transactions take place here in Florida. And the reason for that is because we have a lot of snowbirds here. It's winter and cold and snowing in the northern part of the US. So most people are wanting to get out of that, and they come to Florida and they start, purchasing real estate.
Yeah. Or just some people, I think, maybe they've been here a couple times before or been to anywhere in Florida, and they're like, okay, you know what? It's starting to get cold here. I'm done with this. I'm gonna go buy a house. And they decide, like, it's a very emotional thing. I think it's like once, they're like, I can handle it for one more year. And then once it happens again, they're like, okay, no, I need to get out of here. And I also think there's some people that, okay, they just came down to visit and they're like, wow, this is great. You know what? I think I want to move here. And sometimes people will make a pretty quick decision. We're pretty shocked by the amount of people that watch our videos that like just decide from watching videos in the winter frequently, they're like, yeah, this is what I need to do. In general, if you think about it, if you're trying to sell a home, you want to sell a home when there's the most eyeballs, the most action, the most demand. Well, winter is that time. There's the most people down here. There's the most people wanting to be down here. Summer months are typically going to be slower. So let's talk a little bit more on the macro sense of things as far as, the market and the way things are right now. But we want this video to be sort of evergreen. So just to give you some idea of, in general, when a good time is to sell and when would that be?
Yeah, so I read a quote the other day, which I found it so interesting, and it was like, yeah, like that makes sense. It said, buy when no one else is buying and sell when no one else is selling. And that makes sense, right? Especially from the real estate point of view, if you sell when everyone else is selling, your home is gonna sit on the market for a while because you have a lot more competition, people have more options. But if you sell when no one else is selling, your home is one of those few homes on the market that buyers are actually able to purchase. So your home is most likely than not going to sell a lot quicker than if you sell when everyone else is selling, and now we have a healthy inventory. So your home will be sitting on the market a little bit longer.
Yeah, supply and demand. It's also more valuable if yes, there's less inventory. So you're going to probably get more money for it as well. So generally, yeah, inventory is low, good time to put your home on the market. Generally, that's when they say it's a seller's market versus a buyer's market, right? Lots of inventory, little inventory, prices go up. Lots of inventory, prices go down. So right now we're seeing a little bit of inventory as we're filming this build. Again, we want this video to be evergreen, so keep that in mind that that could change, but you always want to keep tabs and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, because we're always going to give you updates just about once a month, sometimes a little less, a little more, but right around once a month we're going to have a market update. So subscribe to catch those so you can keep a pulse on what's happening here.
Especially if you're thinking about buying or selling, because again, you want to make sure that you sell in the right time and you want to make sure that you buy in the right time.
And with that though, you also need to consider individual circumstances, and I think that's really important. In the macro sense of things, if you're going to hold on to a place for, let's say, 10 plus years, I would say is probably a good number. Maybe even 7.
5, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably still going to be okay as far as seeing at least some appreciation in the place. But if you buy it and you decide 2 or 3 years later that you want to sell it, then yeah, you're going to be a little more subject to changes in the market. It could work in your favor if, let's say, you bought like we did in 2020, and then if we had decided to sell in 2022, we would have made a lot of money. But that situation's not always going to play out that way. I don't think we're going to see appreciation skyrocket like that ever again, or well, I shouldn't say ever, but it's probably going to be a really long time.
It'll be slowly, not within 2 years. It'll build up slowly. So yes, if you bought in 2020, maybe right now it's a good time to sell. But if you just bought in 2022, it's still, you probably would be able to sell for a little bit more, but you can't go in it thinking that you're going to make a lot of money, because that's probably not going to happen. Mainly because properties have been pretty stagnant. They were going up in price very, very quickly, and now it's just kind of flatten out.
Yeah, and we'll see, I guess, what happens in the next few months. Again, stay tuned to the latest market updates so we can give you an idea what's happening. Yeah, I mean, right now it seems like we might see things just stay flat, maybe slightly dip, maybe go a little up. It's really hard to say right now. The time of year is also playing into that. We are just getting into November now, so this next month, maybe 2, we're gonna really start to see what's actually happening in the Venice area as far as the market goes, I think. I think another thing to consider is, personal circumstances as far as, do you have a second home, that you can go live in the meantime, and then maybe, you could still cash out on your place now and still, see some of that money come to you from appreciation. But if you have to go buy another house because you don't have a second house, then that situation is going to be a little bit different. Maybe if you're moving to a market where prices are cheaper, like let's say up in the Midwest or something, it might make sense. But in general, if you're trying to buy, like, okay, I bought this place for $300,000 and I want to go move into another place for $300,000, it doesn't make sense if your interest rate's low, because I'm imagining if you were smart, you refinanced when the interest rates were crazy low or bought during that time. Yeah, it wouldn't make as much sense, I don't think, to sell right now.
Another situation where it does make sense to sell is if you're an investor, maybe just because you don't want to deal with it anymore, or you have a problem child home that you want to get rid of. Right now would be a great time to sell, instead of waiting and seeing how the market plays out and maybe thinking, well, I'll sell in a year or two. Well, in a year or two, prices might come back down. So depending on when you bought, you might take a loss, or you might just not make any money.
Another reason it might make sense to sell your home is because you just flat out have to. Maybe the area just isn't right for you anymore, but more so, I think, for most people, the have to move looks more like, okay, I got a job somewhere else that I have to move for, then sell. Unless you want to maybe consider renting the place out. If you can afford to do that, or get the financing to work out that way. Personally, I think that's the way to go. And that might not be advantageous for us to say because she is a realtor, but at the end of the day, we're always going to have your best interest in mind. We want you to see all your options and not just try to make a buck. It's more about, does this make sense for you? Because if prices continue to appreciate here, rents are also going to go up. Airbnbs are going to be more valuable, however that looks. If you can afford to hold on to the place, go buy another place and rent out the place in Venice, I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yes, and holding real estate, it's always going to be advantageous for anyone. If you can afford it, that's how a lot of people make money. First thing you'll do is just buy your home, live in it for a year or two, and once you have a down payment for a second home, you can just buy a second home and rent the first home you bought, and that's how you can start building your real estate portfolio.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home in the Venice area,
make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
That phone number is 941-221-1897. Call or text at any time. We hear from people daily. We love it. And we're always going to have your best interest and happiness in mind when buying or selling a home in the area. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button, leave a comment with any other questions you have, and
live breezy.